Good afternoon, evening, whatever. You might be in Hawaii or I don't know. Um, I didn't know what to name today's show, so it went stupid. So forgive me. Because there's not any one area that I can target and feel comfortable with having a worthwhile show. I did get contact back from a source of mine. I will tell you what little I know from that, but sometimes a little is a lot. Um, I've been watching the situation over in Afghanistan as closely as I can from my computer chair, and it is astonishing. I'm sure many of you have seen images and or video of at least two people falling from an aircraft to their deaths, desperate to escape what is likely a certain fate. BC, that is Britain Duckworth, and the song is called, no, you got it right. Yeah, you got it right. Jen got it right there. Britain Duckworth, and the song is called Doubts. So you just put both into the YouTube search bar, and you'll find it. So, or Jen might be able to search it for you and give you a link if you'd like. So anyway, I look at it, and there's nothing we can do. We can sit there and we can point fingers like everybody's doing. Everybody's pointing fingers, and I have heard several different people, YouTube content creators, if you will, that have said that there is no blame on one president. It's like four of them. And I can't disagree with that. I mean, this started with Bush. My opinion, we shouldn't have been there in the first place. There were no weapons of mass destruction. We didn't even look into the Saudi connection to 9/11, which is where they were from. So, it seemed like a big rope-a-dope from the beginning. So you have to throw Bush on that pile, so to speak. And then, I mean, come on, Obama. I mean, it's in his name, Obama, right? Insane things that Obama did. Certainly did not do anything to try to put an end to the madness at all. Trump got in office, and out of all the aforementioned presidents, and the one I will yet mention, he was by far the best. He actually was trying to get the hell out of there, right? I know the left is really trying to fault Trump for how things turned out. I don't see how it's Trump's fault. I honestly feel, in my opinion, that if Trump was the one that would have been in charge of this, I think if he would have been in charge of the operation, I think it would have been done much differently. I don't understand why there wasn't a large force deployed ahead of time, just as a safety measure. I don't know why they waited. It's almost like 9/11 all over again. They waited, or Benghazi. They just waited. They didn't do anything. And I mean, they watched the progression of the Taliban take down city after city after city. They had plenty of time to build a substantial force to be able to protect Kabul, or at least key areas of it. And had they come under fire, come on. They could have devastated them. If all they had to do was keep an area clear for a long enough time to get everybody out of there, wouldn't have been much of a problem for them to do. Yeah, I agree. They're all puppets as well. So, and I believe Trump was a puppet just as much as the others. Possibly a little less of a puppet, but nonetheless still a puppet. I mean, he was the one that was the father of Operation Warp Speed, and oversaw that. And come on, we gotta know something's up with that. And so, I mean, that's on a totally different subject, but yeah, like I say, they're all puppets. So, I think they could have done that a lot better, and I can't blame Trump for how that turned out. Could Trump have gotten out of there a little quicker? That I don't know. I don't know enough details to be able to say. Not even remotely. I don't think that what happened was going to be avoided. See, there's a lot of things that Biden said today that was in fact true. We have to get out of there. And I don't know. We could debate whether or not they expected them to advance that quickly, or we could debate motives all day long, but that gets us nowhere. He made a lot of straight, honest points. Not saying I like the guy, but truth is truth. We needed to get the hell out of there. And so I actually commend him for seeing that through. Because, he overturned everything else that Trump did. So I actually commend him for not overturning that. I got to give him that. However, and we'll go into what came my way, we can absolutely expect serious mandates, restrictions, lockdown type of things, if you will. So, it is of someone else's opinion, and I have to choose my words carefully. It's of someone else's opinion that we will know the deal when Biden makes his big speech. So that is something that is being echoed from a source that would know. So I guess we're waiting for that. Now I wouldn't be at the edge of my seat thinking it's going to be tomorrow. I'm thinking that this is probably going to be sometime, and this is my call. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been a little more accurate than I ever want to be here of late, especially here of late. I don't care for that, but it is what it is. I say probably around first week of next month is what I'm thinking. Is when we're going to hear the speech. I think they still got some loose ends to tie up, and I think they're working on that feverishly right now. But I think they're near. I really honestly think that a lot of the stuff that they'd been doing over the course of the last 15 to 20 years has been gearing up for this. Now, I'm not saying necessarily for COVID-19, but for their first opportunity to do it. And I think we're here. The whole thing, my concern with this vaccine being a mark is because it doesn't necessarily have to be the mark. It can be a ritualistic symbol of the mark. And that's something that folks have to understand. I keep looking at this stuff, and you have to come to grips with the fact that soon enough, people are not going to be able to buy, sell, trade, yada, 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 without getting this. So we'll see. There was something, what was it, that kind of dawned on me today. Let me look. Yeah, churches. So I had posted a video from Southern Pepper One on my Facebook. And apparently, according to his video, there's a Baptist church in Atlanta, Georgia, that is bowing down and requiring proof of vaccination for folks to be able to attend their services. And he also said that there are limited services. You have to have like reservations to be able to attend. So the interesting thing is somebody on my Facebook said perhaps the people who say the churches are in a contract with the enemy, and he's got in parentheses government and their antichrist agenda via the 501c3 status aren't so crazy after all. And I'd been saying that for over a decade, for sure over a decade, probably longer. Yeah, that is nothing short of a tool they can use to bring you to your knees. That is if you choose money, because they can revoke that, and then there's your nonprofit status out the window. Now, will that have a real effect? Well, I think honestly it depends upon how the revokee responds. If they just don't give a damn and just continue on about their business and says hell with government, well, that is what it is. But there's a lot, I think, that's gonna bow down. And is that what's gonna happen? Is that how they're gonna get the churches? They're gonna tell them that, hey, look, if you don't participate in this with requiring vaccines and whatnot, we're gonna take your 501c3. Is that how they're gonna take care of the churches? We'll see. That's yet to be seen. Like I said, I think as far as on the employer front, I think that's going to be done largely through the insurance companies. I think insurance companies are going to mandate it, and that's going to be that. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be one of those things, I think, that the larger corporations are going to pass the buck down to, the littlest guy that's dumb enough to be able to do it. I mean, because essentially that's what it is. There's a lot of disruption when it comes to this mandatory stuff, whether it be the vaccine or face masks. There actually has been a considerable amount of discussion, if you will, here where I live. And I was actually completely unaware of this. And I'll let me bring that up. Before I do, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump back and forth just for a second because I forgot to show you a headline. Well, hang on. Nah, I'll just discuss that headline later. Let me go ahead and show you this. Sip of tea. This is here locally. Now, I'll read the article to you because my jaw was hanging open when I read it. Because, yeah, you'll see. Headline is Highland District 5 Superintendent calls state legislature cowards over mask mandate. I've told you about this town. Highland District 5 schools will comply with the state mandate to require a mask, even as parents threaten to order their children not to obey. Okay, so that is the final word. The superintendent, Mike Sutton, well, I'll just read it. Superintendent Mike Sutton and several board members expressed frustration August 11th with Governor J.B. Pritzker and the State Board of Education, as earlier mandates had left the question of masking to individual districts. Pritzker, however, issued a new order last week mandating masks after a federal Centers for Disease Control and American Academy of Pediatrics recommended all K-12 schools have universal masking regardless of vaccination status. Sutton called the state legislature cowards for what he perceives as its inaction. One size did not fit all in the state of Illinois, he said. Sutton and some board members said the courts have so far upheld the governor's authority to pass these mandates, and the consequences for Highland could be significant. For one thing, Sutton said, lack of compliance will impact athletics as other districts can choose not to play them. Illinois State Superintendent Carmen, and I can't say that last name, had sent an open letter to all school district leaders, making it clear there would be a significant consequences to defying the mask mandate. I understand the pressure some schools and district leaders may be facing from community members, and I will provide you with every support to understand, communicate, and comply with the order, she said. However, listen to this, non-compliance is not an option. She clarified that local school boards do not have the legal authority to defy the governor's order. That's exactly what many Highland parents wanted the board to do, however. Nearly all of the 24 speakers at the August 11th public hearing told the board members to defy the governor's mandate and alleged that requiring masks was an infringement on freedom. One referred to communities that stood up to tyranny. Okay, and well, if you're new here, you don't understand, but I've several times talked about the history of this town. It's pretty incredible. And another said it was a hill worth dying on. So that's the peeps around here. Now, there is a protest that is slated for Wednesday, I do believe, in which I guess parents are going to take their maskless children to school. So that is yet to be seen what unfolds from that. Let's see. Melissa Edwards, Secretary for Highland Education Association, said while the teachers union does not have a general consensus, she believed they should have the chance to at least start without masks, but do not want to go back to teaching students online. One speaker, a nurse, described the devastating impact of COVID on her patients and the huge increase in cases she has seen in the last few weeks. Other attendees began shouting over her, however. Some parents referred to the masks as torture for children, and a few said they would not allow their children to wear masks regardless of the school rules. Some said the vote would require masking for their children forever. Let's choose freedom, one parent said. Indeed, Sutton said in an informal poll taken of the Highland families showed the overwhelming majority wanted the board to defy the mandate. but Ayala's, and I can't say her name. So, letter pointed out such an action leaves districts open to legal liability and possible loss of insurance. See what I'm talking about? And repeated noncompliance could lead to total loss of state funding and ability to engage in athletic competitions. School districts have the moral and legal obligation to follow public health requirements and guidance to keep their students and staff safe, she wrote. I know wearing a mask can be uncomfortable sometimes, but so are football helmets and seat belts. Sometimes we have to bear a little discomfort for the sake of safety and because it's the law. And I've got the law for you. Sutton said every bone in my body said to go against the governor's order, but he believed the consequences would be severe enough that he recommended compliance. Now, see, I'm not of that mind. A lot of good people in this town, and this town has a history of defying the government's orders and turning out just fine. Just fine. We don't need them. We don't need them. The people of this town could pull together and make things happen. It is what it is. I don't agree to bowing down to stuff. I just don't. I'm not saying that it's a stance for or against masks. It's not. To me, it's a stance against taking the freedom of choice. We shouldn't have to go any further than that. Now, my personal recommendation, and I know that this is impossible for all parents, but my personal recommendation is that you pull your kids the hell out of there to begin with. Homeschool them. That's my first recommendation. Second to that, don't bow down. And you know, if you're somebody with a child in school and you're concerned with COVID, get the proper mask, because that cloth one ain't gonna cut it. Just ain't gonna cut it. Doesn't matter what you've been told. N95, anything less than an N95, forget it. If you're concerned about, you know, there's a truth behind this all stuff, and then there's a bunch of propaganda being screamed out by a ton of people. And if you weren't, you know, if the question is, if you wear an N95 mask, does that 100% prevent you from getting? No, absolutely not. For one, there's so many variables, right? How many times did you touch the mask and pull it away from your face or whatever? So many variables. So, you know, even beyond failure of the human, you can absolutely have failure of the mask. So it could still get through there. It's not that it's impossible to get through there, but, you know, I have enough common sense to know that mask is going to trap a whole hell of a lot of it. But we're talking an N95. We're not talking a cloth mask. We're not talking a surgical type of mask. We're talking an N95. So there's that. We need to quit playing this game like these cloth masks and these surgical masks are doing much good, because they're not. They simply are not. And I think that that's becoming more and more evident. Just like there's things that I do have to watch how I say them. I have no problem saying them. Let me think of how I can word it. And not being code. I don't believe it's code crap. No, it's a vaccine. COVID-19 vaccine. You hear that, YouTube? Mark it. I said it. This stupid stuff of, oh my God, I can't say the word. Whatever. I think it's going to be a stepping stone more than anything. I think if they can achieve the mask thing in the schools, it's going to immediately go to the vaccine thing, and then from there it's just going to keep going and going and going and going. It's going to be never ending. It already has been never ending. Now, I thought it was interesting that I had posted, by the way, this. Let me go ahead and come back up. I had posted this, by the way, in the little group I started in our town, because it's something that people need to discuss. I would much rather people discuss things and get things off their chest and come to hopefully a civil, amicable, understanding of one another, then things go sideways real quick. And if people don't have that ability to communicate, things are much more likely to go sideways. And so I posted it in there. And only one person has commented. And it was a person that was in favor of masks. Nobody else. So those that are against the idea, this is what I've been saying. This is why that line has continued to get pushed back on all kinds of topics. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about everything else getting here. They've allowed to be pushed back and pushed back, taking churches out of everything for the most part. Stuff like that, taking stuff out of the schools, the churches out of the schools, the introduction of stuff like Common Core and critical race theory and all of that stuff. And largely, they sat back and let it happen. And I'm not saying that to be an ass. I'm saying that for awareness. Because everybody can't just wait for somebody else to do it for them. Because if that's what you do, guess what? Never going to get there. Never going to get there. I need a sip of tea for one. I don't know. We'll see where this leads, but I don't see it leading to a good place. I really don't. Because there's a whole lot of people, and I mean a whole lot of people, that really have no idea what that's like. No clue. In fact, we got most of a nation that has no idea what that's like. But there's a whole lot of people in this nation that seem to want it. My goodness. That's why I think it's important for people to talk. That's why I think it's important that people don't get censored. They don't get shut out by echo chambers or whatever the case may be. I think it's important that they're allowed to speak. They're allowed to talk. That's why I started that group, by the way, because we had 2 echo chambers in town here. We had a group for the conservatives and a group for the liberals, and if you dare cross the line whatsoever, you were gone, or at least censored. I have no idea, Steve. I have no idea. I think this is the Kabul airport or whatever, the one that a lot of the reports have been coming out about. But yeah, I think it's critical that people talk to avoid this. Because it's not. I've never been in a combat zone. I don't want to be in a combat zone. But I'll tell you this, I would rather be in a combat zone than see everything that this country was intended to be flushed away by people that never cared about it to begin with. I ain't good with that. I ain't even remotely good with that. Ammon Bundy. Words that never leave my head. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. But it could be stopped if people will talk. And if people respect boundaries. But I don't see that happening. The left has gotten away with far too much for far too long. The right has let them. And as the right has quietly let them, they've been getting a built-up anger, animosity. And the top's going to pop off at some point or another. I mean, we're actually starting to see bits and pieces of it. We'll see what happens, but I'm telling you now, even with what I'm seeing with the mask mandate stuff all over the nation, at schools, I think you can expect to see it get interesting. So, and that's just as far as that's concerned. Like I said, I was told that there needs to be concern for the very things that people have been discussing. Lockdowns at state borders, mandates here, mandates there. We're in for a hell of a time, without a doubt. Let's see, aside from that, I guess let me go ahead and bring up that one before I get into headlines. Let me bring up that article that I was talking about that I was going to mention later. I'll go ahead and deal with that now real quick. This came out literally right as the intro was playing for the show, and so I put it out as quick as I could. But it's titled, Chinese Media Warns Taiwanese Leaders Against Acting as Strategic Pawns of the U.S. and calls Afghan crisis a lesson for them. To me, I see a lot of clear intent in that headline. So, probably tuck that in the back of the head and remember. Because I see a lot of stuff unfolding. I don't think we're anywhere near being done with new stuff unfolding. I think we got a lot that we're about to see. I think China's going to make moves. I think possible North Korea might make some moves. I don't know if Iran will or not. I don't know. We'll see. But that's militarily, that's where my concerns lie at this particular point in time. So just keep your eye on those hot spots. I know North Korea is starting to get a bit testy with South Korea again, so that's why I'm kind of watching that a little bit. And then, for obvious reasons, Iran, watching that with everything going on over there. And the big one would be China and Taiwan. That would be the big one that I'm keeping a close eye on, because I don't think Biden would do anything, and I think they know it. In fact, they've said as much. I mean, they've come right out and said as much. So, need to keep an eye on all that stuff. All right, let me have a sip of tea, grab a couple vapes, and I'll read some headlines. There's a ton of them. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of headlines that came out as the day progressed. I don't see it letting up. I think tomorrow's going to be nuts too. It's this pattern thing. I can pick up on patterns. White House Twitter account, apparently, and this was last night I put this out. I wanted to make sure to get this headline out. White House Twitter account apparently outs intelligence officials, and I use that word very loosely, and locations with posts showing Afghan security briefings. So, yeah, they snapped a picture for social media that very likely outed high-level officials and their locations. Probably not a good idea. But hey, it's the Biden administration. The whole damn thing isn't a good idea. U.S. says it has secured Kabul airport and completed evacuation of its embassy amid Taliban takeover. A hacked account of Afghan embassy in India denounces self-exiled traitor president in expletive-filled tweet. Everything's on Twitter now, right? World War III is going to start on Twitter. At least 3 people reportedly killed amid chaos at Kabul airport as U.S. troops fire in the air to disperse fleeing Afghans. Oil sinks as coronavirus resurgence dashes hopes for full recovery of global demand. Not the time to recognize Taliban as rulers of Afghanistan, UK Defense Secretary says, bracing for significant migrant flows. I'm pretty sure they're in charge. U.S. sanctions push Iran's oil output to 40-year low. West has done what it's done. UK Defense Secretary breaks down as he explains some people won't get back from Afghanistan. That's horrific. That's horrific. And I hope he's wrong. I hope he's wrong. The U.S. is, still sending troops and stuff over there to assist. So I hope it's not too little too late. I hope it's not an extended mission. I hope that our men and women get over there, they get the job done, that they have a successful mission, and that they get out safe. And completely out. All of them. And be done. Be done. EU coordinating evacuation of Afghan staff as chaos grips Kabul. Mayor of key Ukrainian city found dead from gunshot to the chest amid government crackdown on pro-Russian opposition party. In Australia, Melbourne extends lockdown, reimposes curfew and new measures to curb COVID cases. Let's see. Unverified video. Afghans reportedly plunged to their deaths after trying to cling to U.S. military plane taking off from Kabul. And like I say, there's, to my knowledge, been 2 confirmed. But yet, I do believe there's an article that says that locals had, I think, recovered 3 bodies. So I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sorry. Let's see. U.S. failure in Afghanistan handed country to the Taliban, Moscow says, claims American hegemony declining as Russia and China on the rise. And I'm telling you, and even Biden said it today, that's where empires go to die. And that's where the USSR went to die. I hope that isn't going to be a defining factor to the demise of this country. But at this point, we are in it so bad in debt. for so many reasons, not just that war, but for so many reasons. You almost kind of wonder really how much the war has a dent in all the big picture, so to speak. I mean, if you look at our national debt, it's stupid insane. So, but there again, we're probably not told even remotely near the actual cost of that war, so you have to take that in consideration as well. Crypto market cap returns to $2 trillion level as Bitcoin rallies to 3-month high. Biden's meeting room clocks show incorrect time difference between London and Moscow, puzzling Twitter users. And yeah, I'll be honest, I kind of question that myself. I have to. What was it, 9/11? There was a lady doing a report and reported that one of the buildings fell. I think Building 7, I believe it was. She reported it fallen before it even fell. Yeah. Literally, right behind her was the building. Still standing. As she was reporting it, had fallen. It's crazy. And I'm sure you can still find that footage. You can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. Afghan president fled Kabul with cars full of cash and was forced to abandon some loot on an airport runway, Russian embassy claims. Malaysia PM becomes shortest serving leader in country's history after entire government resigns. Sydney records deadliest day of the pandemic and enters 8th week of lockdown. Taliban starts collecting weapons from civilians, claims people can feel safe under its rule. Serbia set to offer COVID booster shots this week in bid to enhance vaccine protection. Disastrous floods kill 70 in Turkey's Black Sea provinces, 47 people still missing. Evacuation ordered after another fire breaks out near Athens as Greece suffers more devastating wildfires and arson suspected. Afghan Air Force plane crashes in Uzbekistan hours after country's president flies to, Tashkent, fleeing Taliban advance on Kabul. World has gone COVID mad, and this kind of was a little bit that inspired tonight's title of the show. Listen to this. Our world has gone COVID mad. Afghans fleeing Taliban need negative PCR tests to board now suspended commercial flights out of Kabul. So these people, like many of them, I'm sure probably have a reason to want to get the hell out of there, as in they don't want to die. I bet many of them are probably known to have helped, U.S. and other troops, allied troops. So, a lot of these folks know that if they get caught, they're done. It's over. And they want to play the COVID game before getting them the hell out of there. Can we please? I'm not saying we should be... I don't know what we should do. I don't know the whole situation. I don't know how many of those people we should be responsible for. I'm glad I'm not the one making those decisions. I don't know. But I think this is ridiculous. If whatever, there's a deal set up to help them get out, then let's forego this ignorance. I mean, you test them when they land, right? Test them when they land and keep them separated. Oh, no. Anyway, I couldn't resist. Taliban assured Moscow that nobody will touch a single hair on the head of diplomats in Kabul, Russian ambassadors says to Afghanistan. So, and I thought that was interesting too, they pretty much are making sure that Russia's not affected, not harmed. But it almost seems like with the U.S. and U.S. allies, it's like, if you get hurt, well, you get hurt. Interesting interesting, to say the least. Uzbekistan says it shot down Afghan military plane that violated its borders amid exodus of government officials from Kabul. Kind of sucks. Ending as it began, Iranian press compares Afghans falling from U.S. planes to 9/11 jumpers. And like I said, I don't know that I would go that far, but I don't know. And in some aspects it does. Certainly in the aspect of desperation. Because to hold on to an airplane and think that you're gonna make it is stupid. A plane like that, I'm sure that pilot's intentions was to fly above 10,000 feet. Well, guess what, skipper? You need this thing called air to breathe, oxygen. And it gets real thin above 10,000 feet. About 18 to 22,000 feet, you definitely ain't going to have enough oxygen, and you're going to freeze to death. I don't know if you will quite at 18 or 22,000 feet or so, but if they make it up to about 30,000 feet, you're going to freeze to death. So you probably won't anyway, because you'll already have died from lack of oxygen and flown off the plane. That's desperation. That's desperation. That's, to me, the same desperation as jumping out of the window of a building because you don't want to burn to death. I know, it's not pretty, and I don't intend it to be. I don't. People need to understand reality and hard choices, because I think far too many of us are going to have to make hard choices because of reality soon enough. If you can't bear to see it, think about it. How the hell are you going to be ready to do it? British MOD vacancy posting blows the lid on irregular hacker branch with links to unique and specialized military unit. Sri Lanka demotes health minister for promoting COVID magic potion treatment. Hey, at least it wasn't a cow dung therapy. Indian economy picks up speed as restrictions are eased after second wave of pandemic. Hiring for spin doctors in Afghanistan, Rose McGowan tears into U.S. Embassy's untimely PR job vacancy posted amid evacuation. Why are these believers running away from Sharia? Indian ruling party politician mocks fleeing Afghans as Taliban takes over. Well, I don't know. I think those believers, again, worked with the U.S. and allies, and I think a lot of them, I think they're Muslims, but I don't. There's a lot of Muslims that don't believe in Sharia law. That's idiocy to think that they're all after Sharia law. In fact, most of them aren't. I say most of them aren't. When I say that, I'm largely talking about the ones that came here to escape it. Okay? But there are a lot of individuals that are over there that are good with Sharia law. That's how they've grown up. That's what they know. That's why no nation will be able to go there and change it. I think that as long as they keep their crap in their country, they should be left alone. As long as they keep their crap in their country, they should be left alone. And, you know, as long as they provide a way out for people, at least provide a way out for people that don't want a part of the crap. And I think that should go for all nations, including ours. Because yeah, it's not so easy to leave a country. For one, you got to have a passport. So if you don't have a passport, guess what? You're not leaving the United States. That's free? That's freedom? Papers, please, is freedom? No, it ain't. Russia could recognize Taliban as Afghanistan's official government after collapse of U.S.-backed administration, Putin's envoy says. Iranian President Raisi says U.S. defeat in Afghanistan may be chance for newfound peace as Taliban takes over. And I don't know. It could be. Why? Because largely a lot of the people that live there are good with the way that, with Sharia law and stuff. Not all of them. You're not going to please everybody. Look at the United States. Look at all the people that aren't good with the Constitution and what it stands for. That's right here at home. As Taliban replaced guards at Russian embassy in Kabul, Moscow says it will not revoke group status as terrorist organization. And I thought that was interesting too. And I honestly, I'm going to be real honest, I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that Russia is in support of the Taliban. I think Russia is in support of the United States getting the hell out. And I think a large part of the world is in agreement with that. I am. It's not our problem. If it becomes our problem, we turn it into a parking lot, in my opinion. But it's just been nuts. 20 years. I have paid attention all 20 of those years. And it is. It's highly frustrating, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I wasn't over there. All flights uncontrolled. Civil aviation body tells airlines to steer clear of Afghan airspace after Taliban takes Kabul. 7 killed in Kabul airport chaos as military evacuation interrupted by desperate Afghan civilians after regular flights canceled. Austria to keep returning illegal aliens to Afghanistan as government calls for deportation centers in nearby Middle Eastern countries. U.S. looks to revoke Russia's status as market economy. U.S. soldiers will no longer drink snake blood, eat spiders, in controversial frat party training drill in Thailand, PETA claims. U.S. saved dogs over Afghan lives, Washington accused of valuing animals over civilians after soldiers evacuate canines. I just want to point out something. Those animals are not civilians, and we don't leave them behind. Just saying. U.S. regulator opens investigation into Tesla's autopilot system after crashes into emergency vehicles. From U.S. withdrawal to fall of Kabul, a timeline of the Taliban's rapid takeover of Afghanistan. Iran records highest COVID-19 fatalities for second day running amid unrelenting fifth wave of coronavirus infections. Let's see. Russian con man handed jail term for duping Siberian woman into parting with $13,000 for promise of career in porn. Ousted president who fled Afghanistan with bags of cash wrote article in 1989 predicting end of Soviet puppet regime in Kabul. I'm pretty sure it was the end of the American puppet regime, but okay. Beijing lifts its summer fishing ban in disputed South China Sea, reportedly prompting influx of vessels. U.S. SecDef has no plan to resign. Pentagon finally reacts to troubling Kabul airport scenes, vows to continue halted evacuation. 1,000 people evacuated in rural Spain as wildfire blazes through 12,000 hectares of land. Hectares. I've told you about that. As Afghan finger-pointing begins, Biden blames Trump, and U.S. intelligence says no one listened to their warnings. So, you have to acknowledge the Taliban is the new governing entity of Afghanistan, a former U.S. diplomat tells RT. High-res satellite photos show Kabul airport chaos as crowds of Afghans swarm runway in desperate effort to flee. CNN reporter in Kabul mocked for clip saying Taliban fighters seem friendly after some shout death to America. Wikipedia defaced to display Nazi swastika on pages about Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. Americans trapped behind Taliban checkpoints in Kabul reach out to Republican senator for help. Safer than before, Russian embassy in Kabul sees no reason to evacuate as Taliban takes over security, an ambassador tells RT. Massive wildfire rages outside Jerusalem as Israeli government seeks international help to tackle the blaze. Eyebrow raising and then some new Android feature lets users control phones with facial expressions. Uzbekistan forced 46 Afghan military aircraft to land as hundreds of Afghan soldiers attempted to cross the border illegally. That was Biden addressing the nation. They decided not to step up. U.S. National Security Advisor Sullivan faults Afghans for being overrun by Taliban in exit fiasco. Okay. Let's see. Taliban fighters fire warning shots outside Kabul airport as crowds of Afghans try to enter the facility. As a military plane fails to land in Kabul, Merkel calls U.S.-led Afghanistan mission not as successful as hoped. Biden blames Taliban's success and last-minute evacuation from Afghanistan on failures of Ghani's government. Suspected terrorists are crossing into the U.S. at a level we have never seen before, outgoing Border Patrol chief tells agents, says a report. I have no doubt, which I meant to bring that up as well during the monologue, and I didn't, and I apologize for that. And let me tell you now why I intended to bring it up. I do think that we are going to see pockets of terrorist activity, actual terrorist activity in the United States. I suspect that we'll see it. Probably coming up. We'll see. We'll see. That defeat in Afghanistan really gave us a black eye in a morale sense for any groups that may not appreciate our lifestyle, if you will. And it's not that, folks. We've been over there for 20 years killing people's family members. Okay? It's not about ideals. It's not about... They don't hate us for our freedoms. They hate us because we were over there killing their family members for over 20 years. You'd probably hate a country too if they were doing that same thing here. I would hope. I think there's definitely going to be some ugly events unfold as far as that's concerned. Because I think, again, the morale's up. And we'll see. I hope I'm wrong on that. More U.S. troops land in Kabul to secure airport. Pardon me. And support evacuations as Pentagon praises itself for an outstanding job. Pfizer sends early data on vaccine boosters to FDA, seeking approval to give healthy adults third doses. And then a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth. It'll be never ending. If you can't beat 'em, sue 'em. Bezos and Blue Origin challenges NASA in court over moonlander contract with rival Musk's SpaceX. So yeah, if you don't win the contest, you just sue your way into winning. It's ridiculous. There is a headline up there. Ooh, probably ought to get this one out. U.S. makes first ever declaration of water shortage in Lake Mead and lower Colorado River Basin, signaling supply cuts to the southwest. So that is very monumental. Wow. That's insane. It just goes along with every damn thing else we're dealing with. Wow. I don't know what to think. Other than we better all be getting ready. Better all be getting ready. And quick. I am going to go ahead and cut it and get out of here. And just try to relax while I'm still up. Probably won't be up much longer, half an hour or so. But when you get a chance, try to relax wherever you can, because I'm telling you, it's going to be bam, 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 bam. Just keep an eye on the headlines. Keep an eye on the headlines. They're going to be hard and fast. So, and I don't see any letting up, not at this point. So, with that, God willing, we will see you tomorrow. I hope to see you here. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.